here's my question, and maybe it's too early to tell, but this is like the big question in my mind that I'm trying to think about and predict for down the road. Because really, what matters with this Eagles team is postseason success. Like, I feel good about their chances of making the playoffs and getting a pretty decent seed, but winning playoff games is what really matters. And so here's my question: if they face Todd Bowles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or they face Kevin O'Connell and the Minnesota Vikings, these two head coaches that scheme up their defenses really well, they like hide their their blitz pressures packages really well, and so they can really get after the QB. Jalen Hurts has been owned by this type of defense where he hasn't seemed to be able to read it very well. I don't think he's beaten Tampa Bay like at all. And I think it would be the same with Kevin O'Connell and the Minnesota Vikings. My question is, do you guys think that Jalen Hurts is going to be good enough to beat like a defensive coordinator and teams like that when they're scheming these special like blitz packages?
Yeah, I think that we've definitely seen some struggles out of him in terms of that this year, especially that Bucs game, absolutely atrocious by the Eagles. But I also think that we can't take that Bucs game for an example of what is to come and what Jalen can do. I think that in that Bucs game, we can kind of wrap into those first couple games where we were struggling as an entire team, defense and offense alike. And also, I'm pretty sure that Bucs game is the game where both A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith were injured. Is that correct? And so, not saying that we would have won that game if we had both of them, because, again, the chose. But I think that as we get throughout the season and as Jalen Hurts with Kellen Moore even more and they get to know each other even more, I think that there's going to be some, a learning curve to it. I think that we're going to continue to see Jalen grow as a quarterback throughout this year as he's getting to know Kellen more, as he's getting to know that offense, and as he's getting to keep the pocket presence with this clearly new offensive line that doesn't have Jason Kelce. And so, obviously, Jason was a huge part of that. And, without him, we've seen some struggles because of it. But it's the first season the Eagles haven't had Jason Kelce in a lot of years. I don't even know, 13 years, something like that. And so I think there's certainly a learning curve. And we played the Bucs. Todd Bowles has a great defensive scheming of how he packages those blitzes. And we played those Bucs early in the season. And so hopefully if we see them again in the playoffs, whatever round that would be, and if we see them again later in the playoffs, I think that we can go into it maybe a little scared of what we saw earlier in the season, but I think we can also hopefully go into it knowing that Jalen has learned and grown this season in a new role that doesn't have Jason Kelce in that offensive line, picking up those blitzes and being a little more comfortable in the pocket and rolling out of the pocket to avoid those blitzes.
And Owen, what are your thoughts on the Jalen Hurts' ability to read the field, especially against blitz, because that's where he struggled?
Yeah, I don't feel too concerned about that. Obviously, there are some times, like the Cowboys game today, where he doesn't look like he's maneuvering the pocket well. But reading the defenses, I'm not too worried about it. I did some quick research because I knew I had seen this. He's absolutely doing better against the blitz by a mile this year compared to last year. I'm throwing up a tweet here from a month ago, but it still holds true. Last year, he, against the blitz, was 28th in the NFL in passer rating, 74.1. This year, he is top 10, rating over 100. He had 6 touchdowns and 8 interceptions against the blitz last year. This year, only 1 interception. He's completing a much higher percentage of his passes. So I think the stats back this up that he's, in all areas, doing significantly better against the blitz. So I'm not that concerned. Whatever defense they play, obviously the Cowboys defense is nothing like those defenses that you brought up. So it would definitely be more difficult, but I think that, 1, I'm not worried about Jalen Hurts, and 2, the fact that Saquon Barkley is in that backfield with him and they can run the ball makes his life that much easier with the blitz, where they have to respect the run, and just everything's easier for Jalen because of that also. So yeah, I think that's a good point to bring up. But I'm not worried about it. So I
I
feel
like
good
it.
about
I
that.
like that. You guys made me feel more confident about the Eagles postseason. I
There
hope
you go.
that the stats will just continue against pressure. Like it'll be interesting. Washington's got a pretty decent
Hmm.
defense. It'll be interesting to see like how he performs against pressure, like coming the second half of the year. I hope he continues to show those signs of improvement because like they're probably going to play a pretty solid defense. There's some good NFC defenses, so they'll have
Yeah.
to run into one of them at some point.